Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Cassie Ventura has taken the stand. It's on and popping. She breaks down everything as far as how the freak off went, how she was in love with Diddy, how she wanted to freak off, have sex after the freak off. And she just, let's just get into this video and get this thing moving. All right? All right, you know what it is. Unique Mecca Audio, man. You know, this trial is saying a lot because if they get a conviction on this trial here, that means they could go after anyone for their bedroom activities. And it's the law. That's the law that have to be abided by, even though what I see that's going on, from my opinion, is that they're using old laws for today's unmoral lifestyle that we know is against everything that, you know, we stand for as a people. But sit back, we're gonna play this. I don't want to be too long. I want to get right to the point. I got you know, let's see.
I think the defense naturally is trying to poke holes sort of in some of the earlier testimony that Sean Combs was always the person in control and that Cassie Ventura was forced into these situations. So the defense all day have really been laying out a lot of text messages and a lot of emails that tell the story of a very complicated relationship from the very beginning. In fact, in 2007, they showed the jurors an email where Ventura basically says after 2 months of having a kiss with Combs and saying that's when their relation started after her 21st birthday.
So 2 months after, you know, meeting, they have their first kiss and she feels like she's in love and she's ready for whatever he's ready to teach her as an older man. Now, pay attention to this and put in the comments if you think that, you know, this should be illegal for a woman that's 21 years old to pursue a man, or for the man to pursue her as well, and they get into a relationship. And because I've seen, you know, I think with Tony Danza, one of these guys, you know, the guy from Odd Couple, he had a baby at 72 with a younger woman. You know, I mean, these are things that they push on the rug, but I remember seeing it over time. But let's get into this.
After their relation started 2 months later, jurors saw an email where she basically says, I love you, I'm so excited to be a part of this relationship with you, how she had plans of a future with him. So they're laying out somebody that was excited about the idea of being with Sean Combs at 21 years old and her future plans, but also a little bit of jealousy. In that same email, she makes reference to wondering if maybe Combs should have went after her friend, Carrie, and then said maybe you should have went with Carrie because she could help you or, you know, do the things that you want her to do or something to that effect. But she also said, which I thought was really interesting in that email, Rachel, is I want to be the woman that you want me to be. Like,
see, right there, right there, that sounds to me like if there's a little insecurity right there in Cassie's part, where she said, oh, you should go after my friend Cassie because I can't, you know, do the things that she want, you know, that you want. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I'm willing to be your student and be the woman you want me to be. So teach me how to be this freak so we can have this freak off. This is a 21-year-old woman speaking, but being that it's on trial and they have her as the victim, and I'm not picking sides, I'm just giving it to you raw so you understand. Being that they have her as the victim, now this 21-year-old woman is labeled a child. But yet they're locking up juveniles, babies, for life, you know, at 11, 12 years old, and probably even younger. I'm not going to get in because you got the rat bastards and flip-flop wearing and public trolls that look for anything to nitpick at. But I mean, you know, when they're a victim, they're babies, you know? when they're the culprit, then they're adults. Do you see the irony, the oxymoron in this? Somebody let me know.
Almost this idea of teach me what it is I need to be to keep you happy. And that was 2 months into the relationship.
Now, 2 months into the relationship that lasted 15 years, you have a 21-year-old woman dealing with a man 10, 15 years older, and she tells him, teach me to be the woman you want me to be, you know? Now, we're going to put this on the men first. Men, if this 21-year-old woman came at you and said, teach me to be the woman you want me to be, and she's 21, do you say, take me to your mother, let me get your mother's permission because they might label you a juvenile if me and you get together? And she's gonna say, no, I'm an adult, I got my ID here, I'm 21, I'm grown, I could drink, I could do what I want to do, I can make decisions to be with Puff Daddy if I want to. And she made that decision to be with him after saying, you know, basically, you heard it from the testimony, you know, teach me to be the woman you want me to be. I can't, I'm not as experienced as what's her name, Carrie, because Carrie, you know, is, what is it? Cassie. No, we know it's Cassie. What's her friend's name? God damn. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I'm just talking to myself. Don't pay me no mind. But she said, I can't be the woman she want me to be. You know, you want me to be, but I want you to teach me to be the woman. Is that illegal? Do you feel that should be illegal?
She's having to read these emails and these text messages out loud in court.
Yeah.
What is her demeanor like?
Her voice is low at times. The defense did tell her if it's too much, I can read them, but there were many times early on this morning where she read some of those explicit details where she is clearly excited about freak off and talks about entertaining other people in the bedroom.
Come on now, listen. So she's writing texts and emails back and forth to Diddy saying, yo, bring me a big Donkey Kong. You know what I mean? Bring me a Donkey Kong. Bring me a Mandingo tonight. You know? They even had favorites that she liked. Now, just listen to this. I mean, and now a man could lose his empire and his life and liberty by spending the rest of his life in prison for a 21-year-old woman saying, teach me to be the woman you want me to be. I'm of age, I'm 21 now. And now he's looking at life in prison, huh?
And what has Diddy's demeanor been in this cross-examination as well?
There was a moment where Sean Combs was nodding in agreement when they brought up a message that he sent her where he said, you know, one of my favorite times of the freak-offs is when we're able to make love after. And then she responds, that's the same for me. Now,
Stop. Is this kinky or what? Diddy's saying that his favorite time is to make love with her after she's been freaked off and nutted in by another man. Does he enjoy the nut of another man? I'm just saying, it's just a question. You know what I mean? I mean, y'all put this in there. I mean, could you imagine watching your woman getting boned down by another man and then say, you know, and choking him out, you know what I mean, with a throat, and then saying, come give me a kiss, baby. And then he actually not only give her a kiss, he lay down and he enjoys the fruits on his tongue of another man. This is what somebody, I'm just trying to get a visual. I'm gonna let y'all know right now, right? Even though we did, I want y'all to know that right now, I just had a joint, right? Let me show you. I just had a joint with, I think it's Lisa Evers, right? Lisa Evers is in front of the courtroom, and she's talking about what it's like to get into the courtroom for the trial. It's standing room only. She goes there from 4:30 in the morning. You know, she's a news reporter. We know she's there. But I want to know, right? I got a question. How many freaks and perverts you think is standing down there online trying to get in the courtroom and got their little small bottle of baby oil? You know what I mean? Johnson & Johnson. Yo, as a matter of fact, if you got any sense, you'll go buy Johnson & Johnson right now. Get down with the stock. Johnson & Johnson is going off the chain. But imagine somebody standing online from 4:30 in the morning trying to get in there, got their little bottle of baby oil, and they trying to get up close to the speaker where they could hear and see just the freakiness that's going on so that they could pleasure themselves off of it. It sounds like this is the greatest freak show of all time in our courtroom today. Do you think so? Do you think they got people going down there with their Johnson & Johnson just to hear how Diddy and Cassie was getting down so they could do their own personal freak off on the low? I mean, come on. I've seen it all being locked up 26 years in prison, right? Let's take a ride. Let's take a ride. Make sure you go to Unique Mecca Audio Prison Store if you want more prison stories. I'm going to give you one. Yo, we're in the kitchen, right? In the mess hall. We're in the prison. Picture this. We're in the mess hall sitting. So we're in the prison, and there's a dude standing up, and he sit there, and he got his hands crossed across his chest, but, you know, and he's standing up, and he's tapping his right leg. Tap, 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 on the ground. So everybody is just looking at him like, damn, every day he just stand there and just tap his right leg and just look around like he got beef with somebody. He got this straight face, like, and everybody's watching him like, yo, I hope he ain't gonna try and move on me because I'll body him in here. That's what we're thinking, right? And then all of a sudden his face goes, and he get these ugly faces, and he bends over. His back arches. The police run over to him and ask him if he's all right. They think he's having a seizure. And next thing you know, they grab him and he goes, ow. And when they say ow, because they straighten him up and push him against the wall to try and make sure he's all right, you know what I mean? They realize that what this man has is a dental floss tied around his big toe and his penis. And he's tapping his leg, jerking his penis in the kitchen, in the prison, at the female staff working. And he didn't even have to use his hands. He just used the dental floss to tapping of his toe and his penis. What the hell? Let's get back to this, man. But this is how they go. Nah, you know, we're going to get back to Lethal Evers in a minute, but let's go back over here.
What's interesting here is that does match what she told prosecutors, or what she's been telling the jury all along, which is she did this and she said, but she really wanted to spend time with him after the fact.
So that means you enjoyed doing it, and then you enjoyed spending time with him after the fact. So all this seems like it's consensual to me. Not picking sides, I'm just being real. Y'all put in the comments if this sound, from these text messages that now enter you into both communication between two consenting adults, do you think that he's guilty of R&R her? Come on, man.
So he was shaking his head at this message where he's almost, I guess, agreeing that he did say, without him saying it, he enjoyed having the freak-offs and then having sex with her after the fact. And her.
So is he eating her after the fact? That's all we want to know. Is that what y'all want to know? Do you think that he was sitting there watching another man gutter out, nut up all in her, and then he go blah, 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 behind her, go bobbing for Cassie apples? Somebody put in the comment. This is just too comical.
Her saying, I agree with you. I love having sex with you after too.
You love another man dumping his load in your woman, and then you going behind that man, whether it's with your little head or your nasty tongue, and they wonder why they caught urinary tract infections and mouth sores and what the hell was going on in Hollywood? Do y'all agree with any of this? Somebody put it in the comments, man.
What has been the response from jurors today?
Jurors are paying attention. You know, they have their notebooks in their hand. They're coming in, they're very alert, and I think this is one of those testimonies where you have no choice but to pay attention and almost be flabbergasted, obviously, at some of what you're hearing, because it's not only just insight into somebody's sex life, but the details are disturbing at times, especially during that prosecution testimony when we saw some of the alleged abuse, or we saw pictures of her after a beating of some kind, according to her. But the jurors are definitely paying attention. I don't see anyone that's not keeping their focus on Cassie Ventura, and also I noticed them taking notes a lot of times.
You better believe they paying attention what's being said by Cassie in this trial. It's the greatest freak show of all time. Come on, man. Who was not paying attention? And they're in the courtroom up close and personal. They got their own little TV monitor with Cassie with her legs, boop, spread wide open and being gutted. And they're not paying attention. If there's any trial ever in the history of trials, the jurors is paying attention to this trial here. I wonder if they got baby oil. Did you think the jurors got baby oil? I'm just saying.
And the children, as they were exiting court yesterday, two of the girls were...
Now, this is the sad part, right? To get real, this is the sad part. That these beautiful young ladies had to sit there and listen to this about their father. That's the sad part. What the father does in his bedroom, that's his business. But to take it in the courtroom, make it public, this seems like, a public lynching. Back in like the 1500s where they used to take them out in the town square and put them in the guillotine or hang them and disgrace the moguls. Now they just bring them in the courtroom. But that's because of their alleged actions now. I'm not saying the court is wrong. I'm saying their alleged actions brought them in the courtroom. And now he's being publicly lynched, and these beautiful young ladies had to sit in there supporting their father. And how do you support any man when you hear these types of behavior? You know the daughters want to support their father, as they should. But I want y'all to put it in the comments. Do you think they can after hearing this? And I don't even think they're 21 yet. But they did the right thing by walking out the room. These are babies hearing about what their father's doing to another woman. And these babies feel like they're women and they're younger than the woman that's caught up in this with their father. And they're calling themselves women, and they're hearing the media calling this grown woman that's older than them a baby. So she got with him from she was 19. At no point between that 19 to 30 to 10, 11 years that she was with him that she matured enough to say, oh, I don't want this lifestyle. Did she tell anyone? Where was her parents? We ain't even gonna talk about her friends. Where was her parents? So, me and my daughter talk about everything. Let's ride. Me and my daughters talk about everything. The ones that talk to me. A few of them hate me, can't stand me because I wasn't there, fully understood, daddy issues. And not say, I love all of them to death. I love all of them the same, but they don't understand the lifestyle that I chose that was wrong, that I gave 26 years of my freedom. And I've repented, and I'm out here doing this YouTube. These young ladies right here, these are the victims of this case right here. What do you think this is going to do to them moving on in life? How you think they get? How you think this trauma, because this is the beginning of trauma, how do you think this trauma is moving forward in the next 10 years going into these young kids' adulthood? You think, I feel that they will learn from it. I definitely feel that they would learn from it. And by them learning from it, they'll understand that, what's right and what's wrong. But the trauma could take any direction that it chooses to take. Any direction it chooses to take, that trauma could take. And that's the sad part.
We're seen crying. How emotional have they been in court?
Again, I cannot imagine if that was my father or somebody close to me up there and having to hear details of their sex life. Those are young women. They lost their mother, one of them, the twins. So no one can probably quite understand what it is that they're going through, but I think that's something that you think about on both sides, to look at Alex Fine, which is Cassie Ventura's husband, and think about him having to listen to all that's being said about the type of woman that Cassie Ventura was versus the person that's expecting, their third child together now.
All right, stop. We gotta ride. We gotta ride. We're not gonna do that. Yo, Alex, you knew what Cassie was when you got to her. Stop it. I'm sure Cassie confided, or Alex should be on the stand. Somebody need to put Alex on the stand. Put Cassie's husband on the stand. That's what I would do if I was the lawyer. You know what I mean? He started out as a personal trainer. He going over, trying to work on bodies, sculpting bodies, helping them squat, standing behind, getting his funky roll and everything else. And he goes in Diddy's house and steals his woman. This man went, do you think he should be allowed to be a personal trainer? And would you allow him in your house around your wife after seeing what he did with Cassie and Diddy? I think he should be put on the stand so we could find out exactly what she told him. Because if she never even told him none of that, got with him, you know what that's like? And then, I'm just keeping it 100. We got a saying in the street, right? You can't make a whole housewife, But in some cases you can when you figure out a way to finagle and get a Diddy stimulus and get $20 million out of him. You know what I mean? $20 million make a whole seem like a hell of a housewife. You know what I mean? Right or wrong? Hey, yo, if you meet a girl that is telling you that, my man got me training because he don't want me to get the implants, or I don't want to get the implants, I want to get my cheeks right, I want to be whoop, whoop, whoop. And you go into this woman's house and she's telling you how the man got to, drinking urine and suck it off and freak it off with all these men, and then afterwards they lay down and cuddle. Do you think she told him what was in that text? Do you think that Cassie told Alex that she loved, having sex with Diddy after she's been boned out by escorts? Do you think that Cassie told Alex, her husband, you're supposed to tell your spouse everything. Do you think that Cassie told her husband, I had a mouth sore, but he took me to a really good doctor. You know what I mean? And he's gonna get me plastic surgery on the inside of my cheek to give me dimples by cutting out the inside. He's so good to me. He tears up the inside of my mouth and he rebuilds it like a denture. You know what I mean? Yo, this is so stupid. And this dude married her, and now the world is saying that we feel sorry for someone that chose to be with someone for 15 years. Listen, if a female went out and did all of this that Cassie did while she was with a man, and then they break the law and the man get caught, do you think the government is going to say, oh, don't charge her because she was manipulated and influenced by this elder man? Look at Malvo and his son. That was the DC sniper. That young man is doing life in jail. His stepfather had him going out there, hiding in trunks, shooting innocent people. Rest in peace to them. And they didn't treat him like a victim, and he was a willing participant. From what I'm hearing, it sounds like Cassie's a willing participant. If I'm wrong, tell me. I don't know. I'm really confused right now. Put it in the comments.
So whether it's Combs's family or Ventura's family that's there to support her, her brother and her husband, Alex Fine, I think it's difficult on both sides.
Hey, yo, let's make this real simple. So we don't have to deal with, let me see how to put it. We don't have to deal with you saying that that's your woman and she's doing this. We know how the daughters feel, Diddy's daughters, to an extent sitting in that courtroom. How do you think Cassie's brother feel looking at her like, damn, you let him do all that to you? Regardless if you felt like you was manipulated? I'm just so confused. I don't know how I would view my sister if I'm listening to her talk about people urinating on her and defecating and eating anuses and all that. That's crazy. That's beyond crazy. Somebody put in the comments, man.
I'm hearing at one point in time, you have acknowledged this as well, that as Diddy was listening to the cross-examination, he was nodding his...
I know, can't avoid it. And we see this throughout the trial. People running by or rolling by, if you will, with music playing. I've heard the Me and You song by Cassie Ventura, which kind of made her famous. And we just heard one of Diddy's songs as we're doing this interview.
Right. You had previously said that Diddy was nodding in agreement to some of the text messages that Cassie was reading out loud. I've also heard that Diddy was taking notes.
Oh, yes.
As well?
Oh, yeah.
At what point was he taking notes?
I've seen him taking notes from the beginning. I see him put his glasses on. He gets very close to the screen when they're reading some of those text messages. So he's paying attention.
He better be. He's fighting for his life.
Now, Ventura confirmed that she and Combs had conversations about a swinger's lifestyle, but that the freak-offs, they were very different.
Yeah, so she talked about this idea where I guess Combs wanted her to watch him have sex with another woman. She said that happened 2 or 3 times, but that he mentioned it frequently.
Kim Porter came up today in testimony. What was this?
Ho. Let's ride on this. Let me try and ponder what I just heard here. She said that she would get jealous when Diddy got with another woman in front of her, and they did it a couple of times, maybe twice, right? But yet, she had no problem with letting another man gut her out, and now they call that rape. Oh no, you can't gut another woman out, but I could get gutted out, and you're raping me by allowing me to do this. Somebody make that make sense to me. Yo, this is just so crazy.
Significance there.
The defense said early on that this case would be about infidelity, love, and jealousy. And this is where they brought that up today when they brought up Kim Porter's name. The defense asked Cassie Ventura, are you jealous or were you jealous of Kim Porter? And Ventura sort of contemplated, but did get to this moment where she said, knowing that Combs spent holidays with his family, which meant with Porter, did bother her. And she admitted that.
Pause. That's right there if I was the lawyer. I'd be like, well, did that bother enough for you to get on the stand and say these things that now all of a sudden you're being raped when you're the one that actually set up the freak off, wanted the freak off, got the freak off, wanted to have sex after the fact, got turned out. Now you're telling me that you went to him, told him that, hey, Diddy, I want to be the woman you want me to be. I don't want to be like, I'm not like Carrie, but you chose me, so I want you to teach me to be the woman you want me to be. And then he said, okay, well, you can be yourself. What do you want? She said, I want to be gutted out by somebody else. You know, you're not satisfying me. And Diddy said, well, no problem, I'll watch. You know what I mean? No problem, I'll watch. You know, let's get this thing going, man. This is so comical.
They also pointed out that there was testimony where she talked about being insanely jealous overall as a girlfriend. So
how are you jealous when you're inviting men over to bone you out in front of your man? And then lay down and cuddle. Welcome to Hollywood. You know what I mean? This is shit. Come on, man.
Yeah.
We're hearing the judge wants Cassie off the stand tomorrow. Will the prosecution and the defense get equal time?
Yeah, as long as there aren't any additional motions, I think that is the goal, to have her off the stand by tomorrow.
Why do you think that? What's the reasoning behind wanting her off the stand tomorrow?
In the very beginning, Rachel, they told us that she would likely be on that stand 2 to 3 days. So here we are. Tomorrow we'll make that 3rd day.
Hey, yo, listen, right? We're going to get right to the point. Let me get to this before I tap out. Check it out. Yo, Cassie Ventura, young girl, 21 years old, meets an older man, mogul. And wasn't she talking to another big producer or something like that? It seems that she's showing how to pick the bag, don't she? I'm just curious. She knows how to pick the bag, don't she? I mean, you know, like I said, I'm not making sides, not picking nothing. I'm just giving it to you raw because this is a gangster channel and you got to look at it from both sides. So I just want you to see this. She picks the man. She sets up the freak off. She texts me and says, oh, I haven't had a freak off in a minute. And you think freak off meaning him coming over freaking her off. You know, not freak off meaning I'm gonna go hire an escort and I'm gonna come and you're gonna sit in the corner and play with yourself. What the hell? What not Eddie Murphy that said it? Good gonna goo goo. You know, that's what this sounds like. This sounds like a good Google moment. A good Google. Well, I can't even say it. Good Google moment. You know what I mean? Yo, good Google. You want me? Yo, fellas, right? And ladies. This for the ladies too. If your man said, "Hey, babe, you know, I want to go on Craigslist and I want to go get a bad female of my choice, and you know, I want to bone her out and I want you to watch." What would you say to that? Even the 21-year-olds. You know? Now, fellas, right? If your girl say, "Hey, you know, you're just not doing it for me. Let's go to Craigslist and, you know, who paid for this?" I know Diddy paid for most of it, but my thing, if I was the lawyer, would be asking Cassie, did you ever pay for any of the escorts? If you paid for even one of the escorts, you are. It sounds to me like she's a co-defendant. Does this sound like she's a co-defendant or not? Let me tap out. Subscribe to my daughter's YouTube channel. I'm out of here. Subscribe to Unique Mecca Audio Prison Story. It's out.
Cheers, cheers, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Yeah. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Real. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spend a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a raw in Uptown. They be whoring Uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in Uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours, so we can give back to the. Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime. Fresh out the can of 26, He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio.